this tutorial I'm going to show you how to do the sieve stitch, so called because there are little holes I guess throughout the piece. It's a 2-row repeated pattern, but it's not too dissimilar on the reverse to the front if you wanted to use it for scarves and blankets. Really simple. If you can do double crochet in UK terms, and if you can chain, and if you can skip a stitch, then you'll be able to do this stitch. It's a nice alternative to just doing straightforward double crochets, adds a little bit of interest to your project. So let's have a look at the tutorial. So for this tutorial I'm using a DK yarn and a 4mm crochet hook. You can use any size yarn you like, any weight yarn that you like, with the corresponding size crochet hook. I have scissors to cut off my end, needle to sew in my ends, and a stitch marker just in case I need one. This pattern's worked in rows, so we're going to start off with a foundation chain. So make a slip knot. You can do this in whichever way you prefer. And our foundation chain needs to be made in multiples of 2. So we yarn over, pull through the loop on our hook, that's 1, yarn over, pull through 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So make your foundation chain as wide as you would like your project to be. I'm going to go up to 20 for mine, for my sample piece. So pause the video now whilst you make your foundation chain in multiples of 2. So there I have my foundation chain of 20 chains. That's my multiple of 2, and I'm going to start row 1. So row 1 we're going to start by crocheting into the second chain from the hook. So we never count the one on the hook. This one never counts as anything. So there's chain 1 and chain 2. And I'm going in there with a double crochet. That's UK terms. In US terms you'd be going in with a single crochet. So insert into the chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through both of those loops. Going to do double crochet in the next stitch, so insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. And this row 1 is a very simple row. We're just going to put a double crochet into every chain back down our foundation chain. So pause the video now whilst you do a double crochet into your foundation chain, and I shall see you at the end of the row. So I'm just coming up to my last 2 chains, and there's the last one. I'm going to pull on this tail just to tighten that up, and there we have row 1. So for row 2, and rows 2 and 3 are the 2 repeating rows of the pattern, we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. The chain 1 does not count, therefore we're going to work into that very first stitch, and we're going in there with a double crochet. Remember that's single in US. We're going to chain 1 and we're going to skip a stitch. In the next stitch we're going to double crochet, chain 1 and skip a stitch, double crochet, chain 1 and skip a stitch, and we do that all the way down the row until we get to just before the end, and I will join you at the end of the row. So double crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch, double crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch. So pause the video now whilst you work your row of double crochet, chain 1 and skip a stitch, and I will meet you at the end of the row. So pause the video now. So I've come to my last 2 stitches, so I've chained 1, I'm going to skip a stitch and then double crochet in the very last stitch, and that is row 2 complete. For row 3 then we're going to chain 1, turn our work. Again, that chain 1 does not count. But we're going to work into the chain space, so we can ignore that first stitch, and we're going to work into the chain space, and we're going to put 2 double crochets in the chain space. So 1 and 2. we're going to skip to the next chain space and we're going to put 2 double crochets in that chain space. 1 and 2. Remember, if you're working US terms, there'll be single crochets. Go to the next chain space and put 2 double crochets into the next chain space. And we just work that way all the way down our row until we get to just before the end, and I shall show you what to do at the end of the row. So pause the video now. So I'm just working my last 2 double crochets in the chain space, and I have 1 stitch left. You might have to twist it to see the V there, and into the very last stitch I'm going to put a double crochet into the stitch there. And that's the pattern. That's all we need to know. So we now go back to row 2 where we chain 1, we turn our work and we double crochet in the very first stitch because that chain 1 doesn't count. We chain 1, we skip a stitch, we double crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch. So I'm going to work up a few more rows now for you to see how it looks, and I shall see you in a moment. So I've just worked up a few more rows for you to see how it looks. Very pretty stitch, 2 row repeats, so it's slightly different on the back, but actually looks just as nice from the back. Not too thick, not too much of a yarn eater, we're only using double crochets and chain stitches, so it's a nice one. If you know how to do a double crochet and you're a bit bored of going backwards and forwards just doing the double crochet, throw in some chains and skipping spaces or adding 2 double crochets to a stitch. It's quite a nice variation. It's a very mindful stitch, so it's a nice one to lose yourself in if you want to watch some TV but you still want to crochet. And it's just a really pretty stitch. So if you've enjoyed this tutorial today, please give it a thumbs up. It really does help YouTube to show it to other crocheters who watch YouTube videos. And also, if you have enjoyed seeing my stitch marker today, this is my little gingerbread man kawaii stitch marker, available in my Shopify shop and also in my Etsy shop. I'll pop a link in the description to both of those shops depending where you prefer to purchase your stitch markers. There's lots of other haberdashery items there and crochet stationery and lots of things for crochet gifts. So please do check out my shops, and if you are able to purchase, I really would appreciate the support. I'll pop 2 more videos on the side of the screen over here to help you on your crochet journey, and I will see you over there. Thank you so much for joining me on this one, and happy hooking!